First, we are talking about the asset allocation. Do you think 60-40 is going to give higher portfolio return than 50-50 in long term, let's say in 10 years' time?
The truthful answer is nobody knows.
Okay.
Nobody can know. Nobody, if somebody says they know, they are either selling something or they're just speaking through their hat.
No, but then their reasoning is based on the past data. For example, for equity, I'm going to.
Exactly. All of them come with a small fine print that says future returns need not represent past data. The past does not represent the future, right? So that's the point. You should always plan for the unknown. And no, let's keep it to a focused. I would say choose a asset allocation that you are comfortable with. Some people say I am young, therefore I will take more risk. And just because they've seen a couple of years of bull run, they assume they can handle 80% equity. Fine, you live and learn. Take 80%, sure, handle 80% equity and see what happens. Nothing is going to happen because you're young. You still have the time to fail and get up in life. It's not a problem. So if you're young, choose something higher in equity. That's absolutely fine. But the problem with investors is they want to believe that they have chosen the right thing. They want to believe that they have taken the best decision. That's immature. You choose something suitable for you. If you think 80% works for you, choose it. If you think I'm okay with only 40% equity, that's absolutely fine. But invest the necessary amount.
So this is what happens, right? For folks who have invested in the market for a long time and they are comfortable with equity allocation. So for someone like me, I understand the cycles, and then for a long period of time, I could get probably no return, and I'm okay with that. I've factored in all of those in my plan. But one of the question that could come is, uh, many people talk about 60-40 allocation as the allocation that is probably going to give best portfolio return per history, etc., etc. So, what is the asset allocation that I should strive for to get the best possible return? Because that's what the focus is. If I'm able to, take care of my behavior, then the next question comes: which is the most ideal allocation, asset allocation for me? Uh,
See, um, yeah, it's a very interesting question. But again, I don't want to frustrate you by giving you weird answers, and I've been giving you weird answers so far.
No, please, please, please. The goal here is to educate folks. Please go
Uh,
ahead.
because everybody wants nice answers. Yes, no, they
No,
want at least not you, but I'm saying. So the thing is, see, determining an initial. First of all, let's understand this. Your asset allocation that you want to talk about is your initial asset allocation. Let's say you choose 50-50 as an example. You are not going to hold 50-50 all your life. You're certainly not going to be holding 50-50 at the time of retirement. There's a big if. There are certain circumstances when you can hold 50-50, but typically speaking, I don't think you should plan for 50-50. So I would recommend after retirement, not more than 20 to 30% equity for most people, for normal people, because the YouTube viewers are always saying, commenters are always saying, I'm just an ordinary man. What about me? All this plan is not suitable for me. Let me give you a plan for the ordinary guy out there. 20 to 30% only, not much corpus to play with, not much of discretionary expense, whatever. So 20 to 30% equity is what I would suggest for the normal Joe out there. For those who have a lot more money, they can plan for more equity exposure. We'll come to that. But so your asset allocation is not a fixed thing. It's not going to be held in stone. You have to taper down your asset allocation gradually from, let's say, initially 50-50 or 60-40 equity to this 20-30% equity over time. So you have to change this. But what would be the starting point? How would you determine the starting point? There are two factors here. One is what equity and fixed income return assumptions are you going to make? The asset allocation depends heavily on that. Are you going to expect 15% from equity, which is immature, 12% from equity over the long term, quote unquote, or 10% equity before tax? I would say aim for as low a return as possible, because you you mean if you aim for the first floor, you will be happy if you get to the second floor.
True.
If you aim for the 40th floor, you're always going to be disappointed if you fall anything less, and you can't go back in time and invest more. So you aim for something like 10%. I would say youngsters should aim for 10% equity, not because that they're going to get only that much. I don't know what the future is. Nobody can tell you how much return equity markets will give you over the long term. There are some calculations like 4% GDP plus inflation, blah blah. All those calculations are just nonsense. Equity markets does not listen to anybody. It doesn't follow any thumb rule. It just does what it wants. So you aim for the lowest possible that your investment will allow. Right, 10% before tax is what I would strongly recommend. Okay, if you expect only 10% before tax, the amount you should invest becomes higher. Therefore, okay, if it bothers you too much, make it 12% before tax at best. Don't go beyond 12% from your overall equity portfolio before tax. That's the first assumption you're making, and that's a big assumption. You don't know what the market's going to give you. So, second, how much is going to be your fixed income return? Assuming that you have only two asset class. Fixed income, I would say, aim for 7% if it's tax free. We're talking about EPF returns, PPF returns after 20 years. We are not talking about current EPF returns, PPF returns.
Isn't 7% higher because
That's
we have seen gradual decrease in fixed income interest rates, and
if you. I
the
mean,
cycle is going to.
I would appreciate you if you choose less. But I'm just trying to not to dunk you underwater too much. Just saying, aim for something reasonable, because now it is already what, 7.5, 7.5, almost. EPF is 8%, 8ish%, but expect at least 1% fall over the next 10, 20 years, maybe. But if you want to expect 6% from EPF and PPF, it's a solid plan, it's a robust plan. But without too much of discouragement, at least expect 7% and 6% from taxable fixed income, like debt funds.
See, I don't really care, if somebody gets discouraged, though the channel is made to encourage people. But then the important part is to tell them the realities of the world, right? So even if it comes as a shocker, I'm fine with that. So, uh, do you think for a long period of time, let's forget the long period of time, for 10 years period, 6% of fixed income return. Why I'm not taking 7 or 8% is because 8% is 8.1 or 8.25 is what you're getting in EPF. 7.1 is you're getting in PPF, but there is a lock into that, right? But if you want to spark some money separately, people usually go to fixed deposits, not a tax friendly avenue, but there you get around 6 to 7%. So for a 10-year period, right? I don't know what the future holds after 20 years or so. So for a 10-year period, do I take 6% as a fixed income?
Fine.
As that, would you consider that to be reasonable and logical?
Very realistic. Yes, it is. Reasonable becomes a private point, but I would say it's very practical, because the people who can't invest more would find it unreasonable. That's how it always is. When the Excel shows you bad result, you think it is unreasonable, but it's very practical. And I would say if you can choose 6%, choose 6%, or push it a little bit higher for the moment. See, the whole point I want to want to convey is that retirement planning is a dynamic process that you need to do every year, because the inputs will change, the assumptions will change, the economy changes, the country changes, your personal circumstances changes. So you have to redo the calculation every year. It's not a I will do it once and just invest and forget about it kind of situation, because everything changes. Okay, if it discourages you too much, choose 7% now from fixed income. Maybe taper it down lower when your income increases, when you get a promotion, or when you get a big salary jump, or you jump to another company paying more. Then you maybe tinker down your fixed income a little bit for the moment, just to get started. Otherwise, because people are always saying I'm discouraging people. So okay, 6-7%, whatever. No, the point now is you have now fixed your return assumptions, whatever they are. 12% from equity, 6 to 7% from fixed income. Then you choose the mix, which will give you a portfolio return. 50% of this, 50% of this, 60% of that, 70% of that, whatever. You can try different things on a spreadsheet. And that will give you the asset allocation that you're going to hold now. And are you comfortable with this? First of all, your risk at matters. Now, the problem now is I have seen how Indian investors have changed from no, equity is all gambling to I am 100% equity. The scenario was completely changed, and all it took was only 2-3 years of bull run. People just changed. Now they say NPS has become 100%. No, let me make that also 100%. It doesn't matter what my current asset allocation is. I'll make that also 100. If it's allowed, I'll make everything 100%. Everything should be in equity. When the market is going well, everybody wants to be in that. But nobody has seen few years of downturn, and they think it's not possible. It cannot happen. It can happen as easily as getting out of bed. You'll happen before you even know it, and who knows, it may be happening now. As we speak, it may be happening. We don't know. We only know it in hindsight, right? So uh, you should always plan for that, and you should ask yourself, can I handle such a huge risk? And most people think that they can. At least be open-minded in saying, I have not seen such a big fall, therefore I don't know how I will behave. At least have a little bit of humility in that. You don't need to advertise your humility. At least tell the man in the mirror that I have never seen such a big risk, so I should not be thinking that I can handle it. I think both of us have been investing for nearly 2 decades now, and I can say confidently that if the market decreases 50% tomorrow, and if it stays down 50%, I don't know how I will behave. I can say stay invested, blah blah blah, all those kind of social media messages, but personally, I don't know how I will behave. It's not something that so you must have a little bit of humility and doubt yourself whether you will actually be able to handle it. Do it personally. You don't need to advertise everything. The problem is everybody is advertising everything these days. Just talk to yourself, think alone. Therefore, I would say, okay, you've chosen 50-60% equity. That's enough. If you're okay with higher than that, choose that. But ask yourself, how are you also going to go from the initial asset allocation to what you want to do later? That may be a big jump for somebody in the 20s. For a very young guy, this is a very difficult question, right? I'm saying you have 70% equity now, let's say, as an example, and I'm saying you should aim for 40% equity at the time of retirement, or 35% equity, something like that. So you should go from here to there. How are you going to go from here to there? This is a secondary question that the young guy I want to just start. Don't confuse my brain with such questions. But this is a guy somebody in the 30s or 40s should ask this question very seriously, because this will change the retirement planning dynamic. So that's why I keep saying it. There's not one answer, because as you ask more and more questions about how your retirement is going to evolve, the corpus will keep changing. For the same guy, even if you assume that guy's family situation has not changed, even for that person, as they think more and more about how they are going to manage their money in retirement as they age, the corpus will keep changing, the planning will keep changing. So it's not a very simple thing to say 30x, 4% retirement rule, 5% rule, or 2% rule, whatever. You can't simply give out thumb rules like that. All I'm saying is that I think I don't want to waste people's time, and one important takeaway is that please ask yourself what is good for you and your family, what will work for you temperamentally, what will work, what will be your future be. Ask personal questions. All the questions lie within, as our great Maharishis have said, all questions lie within, they don't lie outside. So I'm not sure if I answered it properly, because
No, you did, because there are a lot of things at play here.